What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wisdom Walkers podcast, where I am your host, Javante Blackman. Just to remind everybody, this is a limited series podcast for my new book, Walking with Wisdom. And today I have a great friend of mine, Miss Christina Casseus, is in the building. Shout out to Christina. What's going on?
Hello. Hey, Jay. Thank you for inviting me to the podcast. I'm so excited to be here, and I can't wait to get started.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. So, icebreaker question for you. We grew up in the muck, right? We went to middle school together. We went to high school together. Tell me, it's going to make some people, we're playing favorites now, so this might make some people mad. Tell me your favorite teacher between middle school and high school.
Oh, that's easy. Okay, so favorite teacher for me would be Miss Edwards. That is someone that is very near and dear to my heart. Like, anyone that knows me knows that Miss Edwards, that's my baby. Like, that's the one right there. And more so, Miss Edwards is my favorite teacher because, so backstory. I'm an immigrant. My parents are immigrants, so I'm an immigrant child. My parents, they worked in agriculture fields, and I always started school really, really late. So, like, anybody that went to school with me, you knew from August up until November, December, you wasn't going to see Christina.
Right,
like, I was up until November, December. So during that time, I had Miss Edwards, I think it was algebra or some type of math class. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that because that might not be true. But it was some math class. And math was just my weakest subject. Like, I hated math. And I remember taking Miss Edwards, and I was struggling so bad, especially coming like towards the end of the first and second 9 weeks. I was like, Miss Edwards, I'm struggling. Like, I just need your help. And I literally like cried in her arms because I was failing the class. And I was like, Miss Edwards, like, please, I just need your help. And she was the only teacher that went above and beyond for me. Like, she would take her lunch periods, and she was like, Christina, come see me during lunch. I would sit with her during lunch. I would sit with her after class. Like, even after school, she would take time out of her day going home to her own family to help me understand the math subject. And I even expressed to her, and I told her, like, how thankful I was. I told her, like, everything that was going on with my family and why I was starting school so late. And she was just so open and so, genuine to me. And she's definitely someone that has had a staple in my life. Like, I love Miss Edwards.
Shout out to Miss Edwards. Shout out to Miss Edwards. Okay. All right. I'm with it. I got so many, like, Mr. Isbisky comes to mind. Mr. I was the GOAT. To this day, he just one of the GOATs. Mr. Adele was definitely a big influence in my life as well in middle school. Mr. Hathaway was a good influence as well. Okay. So that was tremendous for me. But nonetheless, man, so many. Miss Cunningham, you got Miss Hall.
Yeah,
so many of them, man. Listen,
it was a good one. Cunningham definitely made me cry because I will never forget when I started school late once again in the same situation, and she looked at me and she said, Christina Casseus, I don't care how hard you work, you're not getting an A in my class because these other students, they've been here from day one. And I cried. I was like, what do you mean? I'm putting in the work. I'm going hard. She went off on me. I went to the principal and Cunningham still did not give me an A.
She tough. She's a tough cookie, but she mean it all in love there. So it's all good. But there's so many other ones that come to mind, like Miss Mann. Miss Mann's class is probably one of my favorites to this day. Too many to count, too many to name, but growing up in the muck, we talking about some muck legends here. So these are definitely some heavy hitters in the realm of education that we've been fortunate enough to sit in their classes. So shout out to all the teachers between Lakeshore Middle and Glade Central Community High School. No shade to any other schools in the muck. No shade to anybody, but they know how we rocking. They definitely know how we rocking. All right, well, let's get into these questions. So got 5 questions for you, and we're going to dive into it. Question number 1. What does wisdom mean to you? And who is the first person who comes to mind when you think of wisdom?
Good question. Okay, so when I hear the word wisdom, I know a lot of people, they equate wisdom to like your knowledge, more so like your book knowledge, how smart you are educationally in school. But for me, when I hear the word wisdom, I'm thinking about your life experiences. Like, what have you gone through that have made you wise, that you're able to assist anyone, like regardless of their gender, age, nationality, just you're able to assist anyone with that wisdom that you have. And for me, that's definitely my parents. They are the first group of people that comes to mind. Once again, they came here from Haiti. They didn't know how to read, write, anything in English, and they were able to survive with their life experiences, and their life experiences that took them to the fields to work hard with their preservation and also their hard work. And they were able to use those experiences as well as their wisdom to, birth beautiful children and also instill some wonderful skills in them and allow those children to grow up into the world and be successful adults. Now, me and my siblings, we all have college degrees. We're all doing really well for ourselves. So I definitely have to say my parents, because my daddy, he taught me to stand up for yourself. It don't matter who's signing off on the check. Don't let anyone disrespect you. Always stand up for yourself. And then my mom, God rest her soul, she definitely taught me how to be a woman. And the things that she has taught me is what's keeping me alive right now and is what is helping me to survive in this moment. So definitely shout out to them.
Shout out to the folks. That's what's up. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I got kind of like a backup question for that. With you being an immigrant child, coming into the States, growing up in a culture where there are other immigrant children as well, like the Belgrade, South Bay, Pahokee, the Muck in general is full of other people who are taking advantage of that opportunity. What is one gem of wisdom that you remember early on that is still carrying you through this life that you are now living?
For me, it'll be work hard. Work really hard. Don't wait for handouts. Don't wait for anyone to give you an opportunity. If you want something, go out there and get it. Because once again, I told you, like my parents, they worked in the fields. And also me and my siblings, we also worked in the fields, and we worked in like warehouses. And in those moments, we were just taught to work really hard. We needed the money to pay bills, buy school clothes, pay for grad bash, prom, all these things. So it was more so get out there and get it yourself. And so now that is one thing that has stuck with me up into my adulthood is to get out there and grind, get it yourself. Don't wait on nobody to give you no handouts. You want it, go get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that is the theme and kind of like culture here in the Muck in general. And I love the fact that anybody that comes in, they can feel that. I've been blessed to have friends that are not from here, but have visited or know people that are from here. And they say the same thing. We are hard-nosed, hard-working, blue-collar kind of people, and we don't have anything. So we are literally taught to get it out in the mud and really go get it yourself. And so I'm grateful that is something that's echoed, not just, in my life, but amongst everybody that is from here. So shout out to you for being a Muck, baby. Shout out to you. Okay, question number 2. You briefly touched on losing your mom, and I know that is something that you've been carrying with you as you matriculate through your adulthood, and you've been doing really well. I got to give you your flowers. Like you have been doing really, really well. And I mean, can I be honest? And this is me being vulnerable here. When I lost my mom, you gave me a lot of hope. I barely was on social media. I took a very, very extensive, I withdrew from it all. Like I didn't want to be on it, didn't want to post anything. It was just that. And I saw how you handled yours. And I learned from the way that you handled your time of grief. You took time for yourself and you popped back in when you wanted to or not at all or whatever it was. And I said, dang, okay, if Christina can handle that, and this is how she's doing it, then let me learn from that. Let me take some gems from her and apply it to my own life. And so I'm telling you, I got to give you your flowers because they are due. You raw. I'm telling you, raw. Right. But question number 2 is along the lines of you pursuing, getting through life and handling that, you're also pursuing your law degree. And that is amazing because now you're part of this Rattler family. So shout out to all the HBCUs, but specifically, shout out to all them Rattlers. You're officially a Rattler woman. So shout out to you. Shout out to you. Okay, question number 2, though. Why didn't you let the grief you've been enduring stop you from pursuing that dream?
So I want to say that grief is really hard. That is something that I think is not talked about a lot. And it's something that I didn't experience until I lost my mom. Unfortunately, I didn't know what heartbreak felt like, losing a grandma, an aunt, because once again, all my family members, they were over in Haiti. So only time I got to speak to them was when we had enough money to get a calling card. And if people know, they know. Calling cards are like $5, $10, and you only get a few minutes. So I didn't really have a bond with them, unfortunately. And then relationships, I wasn't the girl that was just out here, falling in love or dating. I was more so focused on school and my dreams and just trying to get out of the hood, honestly, to make it. So losing my mom, that was really hard for me. And during that time, I had to pray a lot. I had to pray a whole lot, and I had to rely on God to get me through that moment. But the reason why I didn't let the grief that I was experiencing stop me is because when my mom was living, I made a lot of promises to her. And one of those promises was, Mom, I'm going to be a judge. We're going to make it out. Like, I'm going to get you a home. I'm going to buy my dad his dream truck. Like, we're going to be set. And even as a child, I always told her that, and she would always look at me and be like, oh, there's my little attorney. There's my little judge. Like, she would always say that. And I even have videos that I posted on my Instagram page and Facebook of like my mom just always speaking life to me, even in her last days when she was laying in bed and she like couldn't get up out of the hospital bed. She just looked at me and she was like, Christina, don't worry about anything. Like, I'm telling you, don't worry about anything. You're going to be rich. You're going to be amazing. Like, you're going to touch so many souls and you're going to inspire so many people. And I looked at her and I was just like, And you hear me say in the video because I wanted other people to hear. And in that moment, you know, I recorded it for myself just to always remember that if no one else believes in you, you know your mama, she had you from the jump. Like,
sure.
She always spoke life into you. So that was the one thing that kept me going was those promises. And I knew that if I just gave up on my dream, that she would be very disappointed in me. And then the other thing that also kept me going was that I needed something to distract me. Because as easy as it may have seemed that I got through the grief, it was really hard. Like, I was the one that would just bottle up everything inside and make sure everyone else was okay. So I was like, you know, channeling in that energy. Like, I wasn't really letting it go. I wasn't really expressing myself to anyone. I'm a very private person. Even with my friends, I'm really private. Like, I don't say too much. I keep everything to myself, but I journal a lot. So journaling was the moment that I had to myself to really express myself and get those feelings out before I get up and conquer the world. So I just couldn't, because I knew that my girl, she was counting on me. She'd been counting on me from the jump, so I couldn't let her down.
I feel you. You speaking, you preaching to the choir right now, because you know I get it. You know I get it. I think it's dope that you found that tone of wisdom in your mom. And so one of the things that I talk about in the book is how wisdom holds us accountable, and accountability is the tone of wisdom. It's the thing. I always learn that communication is less about what you say, it's more about how you say it. Mm-hmm. And some things can be communicated only with the right tone. And I'm proud of you comes with a certain level of tone that is important. If somebody say, oh, I'm proud of you, it really doesn't hold that much weight. But if somebody puts some emphasis on it with some tone, there's a level of a tone that's attached to it. It makes a big difference. And there are 4 tones of wisdom that she speaks in when she talks with accountability. You have admiration, you have motivation, you have introspection, and you have honesty. And I think that parents have a way of speaking in a level or a tone of accountability that we get as children. And so no matter where they are, no matter, you know, what happens between the time we make a promise to the time that we fulfill that promise, that level of accountability is still there, you know. And I think that that's dope that we still have an opportunity to get that. I have a video in my phone of my mom at my first book release. And she tells me how proud of me she is, and you know, how she wants me to continue to strive for my dreams and my goals, because as she puts it, I'm the best of the best. Now, Mom, I'm humble, so I'm gonna let you say them your words, Mom. Them ain't mine. Them ain't mine. I'm gonna play the background on it. I'm gonna walk in it. You spoke it. I'm gonna walk in it. You know what I'm saying? But what was ironic to me was, and this is something that when I think about, I was like, God, you're really intentional. The day that was recorded, the day I had my book release, was the day that she died. And I used to look at it as a sad thing. Like, how could she leave? The dates don't. But it's like, nah. What God did was He knew that I would need a almost like eternal level of accountability, an eternal message that I would never lose, would always stick with me, would always mean something to me. And it was just like time stamped by Him. Like September 29th of 2018, I had my first book release. And she was there. She set up the whole thing and all that good stuff. And she recorded that video message for me. Right. And nearly 4 years later, she passes away on that same day. And it's like, when I watch that video, I get a level of peace because, man, like, it's like she knew. Like, she knew I would need that. She knew I really would need that. And it's touching. It definitely humbles me and makes me like, all right, you know, let me Let me lock in on a different
Right.
level. And so here's a question, another back end question for you, as it
Okay.
relates to the level of accountability that you have with your mom. How much of it now is, I know I made this promise for my mom, but I also need to do this for me.
So I can say honestly, just being vulnerable, anything that I do in this moment is never for me. I don't even look at it for myself because I'm still healing. So there's days
Yeah,
where I get up and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, Mom, why you left me? Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't classify myself as suicidal, but it's just a lot of days where you feel lonely.
mm,
Because just waking up and continuously trying to tell yourself, like, oh, this person that birthed me, this person that I saw every single day, I will no longer see again.
yeah,
Like literally when she first passed away, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, let me call Mom. And I have to like tell myself, wait, Christina, she's not here. And it was
yeah,
just like trying to come, back to reality and understand that for myself, that was really hard. So I say the one thing that keeps me accountable, if not those promises that I made to her, is my nieces. I love those two little girls to death. Anyone that knows me knows that those are my babies. Like I refer to them as mine. My sister, she was just my surrogate, honey. Those are mine. So I have pictures of them on my cell phone. I have pictures of them in my bedroom where I study, and I always think of them because I just want them to know that they can do anything and that they are destined for greatness. And regardless of what boundaries or what barriers that they may experience in life, they can always overcome them. Granted, they have amazing parents that are setting pretty high standards for them, but I just want them to know that your auntie got you. Like
for
you're gonna
sure.
be set.
For sure. That's what's up. I love that. Oh man, I love that. That is, it's refreshing to still have that level of admiration still present. You have that in your nieces and they're watching and you know that they're watching and it gives you a level of, all right, let me keep going for them. I got a standard to uphold myself for them. So let
Right.
me let me keep going. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. I think it's dope that there is more people who find that level of like accountability and admiration from other people in their lives once they kind of lose somebody. I'm not one of those people who looks for it,
Okay.
if I'm being honest. When my mom was my biggest cheerleader,
Right.
and for me, that was all I needed in my life. From the time I was a little boy who knew what it meant to have somebody in your corner, up until September 29th, 2022. I mean 21. I was like, all right, I got my girl. I'm good.
Right. I'm
you
good.
know,
I can go through anything.
I can go through anything because I know whether the chips are up or down, she got me. Like she gonna always be cheering loud. There were
Yes.
times, and a lot of people know that I have, I had med school aspirations, physician aspirations, healthcare professional aspirations, and I was far away from that dream for a long time, like a
Right.
long, 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 long time. I mean, working as a mover, I was sweeping floors, cleaning toilets, I was
You
doing
was
all
hustling.
kinds of stuff.
Was hustling.
I was hustling. I had 4 jobs at one point, Christina. Like I was hustling, and the people who know, they know. They
Right.
know.
Right.
I always had that in me. Like I've always been a hustler. So,
Right. Right.
but when I was far away from that dream, my mom would call me 10:30 at night. You still going to med school, right? Yeah, I'm still going. I got some stuff to work through, but I can see you in that white coat. I can see, those were conversations that we had. And she was like, I had a dream where you was in the hospital, and you was working, and da 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 da. And I was like, okay, well, make the Lord, speed that thing up, mom. One time, just fast forward on it, God.
Yes.
But when I was far away from it, she was still rooting as if I was right there. And now I have a community of people. I have a family who has always loved me, but in my mom's absence, their cheers are now loud because she was close. She was the closest thing to me. She was the closest cheer I heard, even though they were still cheering. But now they get an opportunity to come to the forefront, and they get an opportunity to be in my corner, and they're loud and they're cheering in their own way. And I cannot thank God enough for them because without them, I probably would have quit. Just being honest, I probably would have quit. I mean, it's not like 20%. I would have quit. don't got enough quit in me to quit, but I thought about it. I definitely thought about it.
Because I'm telling you, before I got into law school, I contemplated a couple times, and there was a few people that hit me up like, "What are you doing? No, you're not giving up on yourself."
Right. Listen, and that's where true accountability comes in, and I think that when we recognize that is wisdom at work, it's her speaking to us, is the wisdom in those people speaking to us, because they can see what we can't see. And grief is one of those things that blinds you of you. It blinds you of your vision. It you can see, but you don't have vision. And grief is one of those things that mucks up your eyes and you become blind and everything becomes blurry. And you would much rather just sit down and stop versus keep going without being able to see. And I think it's dope that God gives us these people who will hold us by our hands and walk us through. But it's not really them that's walking us through. In the book, I talk about how that is actually wisdom. It's just in the form of people. And I'm grateful that a lot of people are recognizing their power and accountability and holding the people in their community accountable, holding their friends, their family, loved ones, whoever, So shout out to all of your accountability partners. Shout out to all of my accountability partners, because y'all lit. We love y'all for real. Like, y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea.
Yes.
No idea. All right, let's go to question 3. So I know that getting into law school wasn't a straight shot. We've been friends for a long time, so I've had the pleasure of watching your journey up close and, seeing how you matriculated through this. So that season of waiting between, graduating from undergrad to getting into law school, how was that season of waiting made more difficult because of the grief you had been enduring?
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. So that season of waiting, it forced me to face my emotions. It forced me to feel the emotions of grief, and trying to understand what is grief, or researching, understand why am I feeling this way? Like, why are there some days I wake up and I feel like I'm alive, but I'm not really alive. Like, I just feel numb. I can't feel anything. I pinch my skin and I don't even feel it. So just trying to understand those things, because more so, like I said, I was a person that I had to stay busy. If I'm going through something, I need to stay busy, whether that was cooking, cleaning, folding clothes, whatever it was, I needed to do that in order to stay busy. But during that time of waiting, I just put myself into studying for the LSAT. That was a way that I completely tried to block out those feelings when I didn't want to be bothered with them. I didn't want to try to, understand them or feel them. I would just jump into LSAT studying. And when I couldn't LSAT study, I just went to praying. Like, I literally had to pray several times a day. I can't even count how many times a day that I had to pray during that period of waiting. Just trying to ask God for, 1, for forgiveness, and then 2, for his comfort. Because in that moment, I really needed God to show up for me. Like I said, losing my mom, that was my first time experiencing grief, so I didn't understand nothing. Like, we never spoke about grief. We never spoke about death. So it was just trying to understand all those things, and just asking God to please guide me. Please give me peace. So that's how it was, and it was really hard. It was really, really hard, but I can definitely say that where I am today, I put it all back to God. It's not me, it's definitely him, because I look back and I'm like, how did I get this far? Like, how did I make it? Like, I just lost my mom. Like, how did I do this? And I tell people all the time, I'm like, no, don't clap for me. Just clap for God. It's not me at all.
Shout out to God, for sure. I definitely understand wholeheartedly. Oh, man. What you did is something that I'm going to be honest and say that I struggled with. I'm an emotional being. I'm 100% a man. Probably I'm a man. I like to get my hands dirty, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But at the same time, I've learned that I'm emotionally intelligent, and that is something that I've always kind of just embraced about myself. Like, I understand emotions, not just mine, but other people's, and it's helped me be a better friend, a better brother, a better cousin, a better leader in a lot of different situations. And because I was so emotionally intelligent, I was inclined to just shut down. I felt everything. I felt the anger. I felt the disappointment. I felt the anxiety. I felt the fear. I felt abandonment. I felt everything. And I was so overly stimulated that it made me angry with God.
Okay.
And because I was angry with God, I literally told him, I don't want to talk to you. I didn't disrespect him. That wasn't, I ain't cussing him out. I thought about it now. I'm not going to lie. Me and you talk, God, so you know. I thought about it, but I checked myself, right? I definitely checked myself.
That's why I was asking for that forgiveness first, because I was real sad.
Listen. And you know what's crazy, though? And this is something that I learned and from going to therapy, really being vulnerable with God and having a community of people around me who understood grief. I dove into a community of people who understood that. This is a principle that I learned, and you'll never hear this in church. Okay, so what I'm about to say is so profound, and that it's gonna go over a lot of people's head, and they'll be mad, but it's their business. I don't care.
Okay.
You have to forgive God. That is something that I learned, and that is something that I talk about in the book. When you get to a point where you're ready to walk again, where you're ready to embrace just the next chapter, not necessarily a new normal or any type of normalcy, getting back to normal, that doesn't exist. But when you're ready to get up from the pit of despair and depression and all of that kind of stuff, when you're ready to not let grief be so heavy, but definitely get out of that just ill place, you have to learn how to forgive God. Because that proves that you guys have a real relationship. When you forgive somebody, it's never for them, it's for you.
Yes.
It's really for you. And when you can practice forgiveness with God, you free yourself from feeling abandoned. You free yourself from feeling let down. You free yourself from feeling angry with him, because you realize that in relationships, nobody's going to do what you want them to do all the time. Nobody. And if you can embrace that with your creator, you know you can embrace that with other relationships in your life. And I had learned forgiveness for people. I could forgive this ex. I could forgive this old homeboy. I could forgive, this old friend. And I can forgive my parents. I can forgive cousins, all that kind of stuff, right? But it wasn't until I learned how to forgive God that I learned what true forgiveness is. And true forgiveness allows us to embrace acceptance. Not necessarily agree with what happened, but accept it. God, this is what happened in your sovereignty. You rule supreme. You are sovereign, which means you can make decisions and nobody will argue with you. And in your sovereignty, you can make decisions that I may not agree with, that they may hurt me, but once I forgive you, I can accept it. I accept it. This is a decision that you made, and now I have to move on and move forward with my life. From that, I may not understand, but I'll be able to move forward. I find a new pace of grace to move in and understand that in your sovereignty, you're going to make decisions that I may not agree with. And although I may be angry with you for a moment, I'm so grateful that you teach me how not to sit in my anger. Because there's been plenty of times that you've been mad at me, God, for stuff I ain't stopped doing yet. You know what I'm saying? So
forgiveness every night.
You feel me? You feel me? So if you can forgive me, then surely in this moment of you making a decision, I can forgive you too. And that is just one of the many principles that I talk about in this book. And I'm so glad that there are other people who are able to find that space of forgiveness, to ask God for, but also to extend to God. He is due an act of forgiveness. I think if a lot more people forgave God, they wouldn't be so angry.
I agree.
I have the privilege of sitting with some, people who have parent issues and things like that. And a lot of times they want to blame their parents. Oh, this happened. You didn't do this. You. And the thing that I had to come to grips with, even in my own, relationships with my parents, especially my dad, is they never done this before.
Right.
This is their first rodeo with this. And you got to think, like, how you see you, your parents see you with a bigger microscope. So you're a bigger star to them than you are to yourself. And there's a level of disappointment that they have with themselves if they mishandle you. And before I judge them based on the decisions that they made in raising such a tremendous young man. And I have a brother, so they had to raise two of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure your parents have felt the same way. They raised tremendous young women. You know what I'm saying? So six, you feel me? Six in total. So
Yes.
the level of pride and just responsibility that came along with that, they didn't want to mishandle such a tremendous gift, such tremendous gifts. You know what I'm saying? And we have to remind ourselves that this is their first rodeo. And a lot of times we have to also remind ourselves that this is our first rodeo with God. We are one of one. We can have twins, we can have triplets, quadruplets, whoever. But when God made you, he made an individual. And this is his first rodeo with you experiencing him and he experiencing you in the version of you he created. Not necessarily with creation, period. God been doing this a long time. He don't make mistakes. But this is our first experience with a vertical relationship with him. And in that experience, you're going to have to learn to forgive and extend some forgiveness to God because he going to make some decisions you ain't going to be happy with. You know? And you're gonna have to extend that forgiveness. You may not understand, but you're gonna have to forgive. Understanding or not. Understanding or not. Okay.
Yeah. Come on, you dropping them gems. Come on.
I try. Okay, let's go to the next question. Question number 4. When did you know that walking again was possible for you, and what made you say, "All right, now is when I get up"?
So a lot of people don't know this about me, but after we graduated high school, I got into FAU. I went to FAU. While there, I only did like what 2 semesters, and then I got really, really sick, and I was literally. It felt like I was fighting for my life for an entire year. I was in and out of the hospital. I was bedbound. I couldn't walk, couldn't eat. I got really, really skinny, and I was just so depressed. And during that time, it was really hard for me to like physically walk. Um, and I was diagnosed with POTS, which is also known as postural orthostatic tachycardia. So it was a syndrome where I would stand up and I would pass out. I would stand up and I would feel like my heart is racing as if I just ran a marathon and I didn't do anything to just stand up. So experiencing that and making it through that and getting up to walk again. Once I lost my mom, granted that cut me deep, but I knew that if God did it before, he'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Like you were at a place where you could not physically walk and you got up and walked. Matter of fact, you got up and ran.
Yeah.
So losing my mom and experiencing that grief, I knew that, okay, Christina, you can do this again. You just have to tap in and find that strength that you have within and we can get through it.
Yeah.
And also listening to sermons, more specifically Sarah Jakes Roberts. Oh my God, that woman there, she is so anointed. Listening to her, more specifically, that sermon that is titled Girl Get Up. That was the one that spoke to my soul. Listening to that sermon, I cried my eyes out like a little kid, like a baby. I cried so hard. And in that moment, I told myself, we can do this. We're going to get up. We're going to do it again. We're going to get up and we're going to get through it. Yeah. And I took it day by day. Once again, studying for the LSAT, praying, journaling. Like I still have my journal where I was writing during that grieving period of losing my mom. And I made sure I put everything in that journal. So it was a safe space for me to just grieve and also to express myself because I knew that although I had my siblings and we're all pretty close, I didn't want to put my grief on them because they were also grieving in their own ways. So I had to find an outlet that was best for me, and journaling was the one. So I would journal my feelings, and then I would get up and study and do as many hours as I can. And during that period, I remember when I first took the LSAT, and it was the craziest experience ever. So I'm sitting there taking the LSAT. I done prayed, I done prepared, and I told my entire family, I'm like, okay, I'm taking the LSAT this day. Like, nobody makes any noise because we were all virtual because of COVID. And I was like, nobody makes any noise. Nobody comes into the room. Like, if they see anyone, they hear any noise, like, my test is gone. And as soon as I started the test, not even 5 minutes into the test, my sister walked the door and like, Tina! And I was like, I just stared at the computer with my mouth wide open. I started crying. I started bawling. I was like, oh my God, I studied so hard. Like I prepared so hard. And here I am. My test is going in a blink of an eye. And I'm crying. And mind you, the test is time. And the proctor is just looking at me like she's not saying anything I'm praying to God. I'm like, God, please, God, just please get me through this moment. So I made it to the end of the test, and get to the end. I'm waiting on the results to come back, and then the test results come back, and I got the score that I needed, and I, applied to law school. And before I got my acceptance letter, I remember going to bed that night, and that was the first time my mom came and visited me in my dream. And in that moment, I saw that it was like a huge party, like we were all just partying and having a good time. And I'm like, Mom, and I just remember, keep saying, like, I still remember the dream so vividly because it was right before I got my acceptance letter in the mail. And we were just partying, and she was smiling, and she was just so happy. And I was just trying to understand everything. And then I woke up, and I remember that following morning, I was like, let me go check the mailbox. So I went and checked the mailbox, and I saw the letter. And I also checked my email, and I saw that congratulations. And I was like, okay, it's time. So once I saw that, I knew, like, okay, it's time. It's your time. You've been struggling for too long. You've been going through for too long. It's time. It's time to get up and walk. And in that moment, I took that opportunity, and I was like, okay, God got me. My mom is watching over me. Let's go. It's time to go.
Hey. Oh, that's so good. Look, I'm over here chilling and everything. That's so good. Oh, man, that's so good. Christina, you have no idea how dope that is. It's just, I just, everything just lined up. It's just thing after thing after thing after thing.
Yes.
And sometimes, we go through things that we don't necessarily understand. We can't explain. If somebody asks you, well, why did you go through that? You have no idea, right?
Exactly.
There are storms that intentionally, I said in the book, storms are intentional isolators, right? They isolate you for a reason. But it's all a part of God's plan. It's all a part of Him getting you to where He wants you to be. And that looks different for everybody. The process of gutting is something I talked about in episode 3, and that's something I talk about in the book as well. Like God has to strip you of certain things, certain experiences, certain things that decorate your life in a way that gets you to the place where you're ready to receive what it is that He has for you. He has to build you a little differently. And there are we have no idea how many carpenters are on assignment for our lives. Mm-hmm. Like, there are so many people sent on assignment to build you up. And they do it through sermons, they do it through conversations, they do it through memes on Instagram, they do it through just text messages. Hey, I just thought about you, making sure you're straight, different things like that. There are different carpenters assigned to our lives, and that is how God gets the framework of our house built. There's a scripture in the book of Isaiah. I cannot think of it off the top of my head, but I know it. I know what the scripture says, I just don't know what the verse is. It says that God will strengthen your frame. He will strengthen your frame. And I used to read that like frame, like a house frame, like a picture frame, like a frame. What's a frame? But when God is strengthening a frame of something, what it means in context is He's building that thing up so that it can stand whatever He's going to do with it. He could be moving it to another place. He could be adding on to it so that its capacity is bigger. Whatever it is, though, He is in the process of making sure that on the inside, you're built to handle it. And sometimes we don't know how necessary the stripping and the gutting is until we get to where He wants us to be. We have that large celebration and that party, and it's dope. And then we're like, oh, you took me through that so that I can handle this. Mm-hmm. You took me through this valley so that when I got to the mountaintop, I would experience this level I would have the endurance to get there. I would feel this level of joy. I would feel this level of peace. I would have this experience. Right. We'd be so like, oh God, it's another valley. It's another storm. It's another. Whole time like, nah, relax. I got you. Like that's it. That's Him really saying, I got you. Yeah. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are really with me. You with me. Like, I ain't got to worry about nothing. You with me. And we just have to keep reminding ourselves that it's a scary thing. But when you have people, like I said, assigned to your life to build you up in the moments where you feel your weakest, when you feel your most vulnerable, you get there. You get there. When you get there, you stay there because you were built to handle that moment. And I think that's dope. And I'm so glad that you had that experience. Listen.
That's the thing as well too, though. Like, although I showed up as this vibrant person that was always so genuine, so nice, always
Mhm.
smiling and laughing, like life for me was never easy.
Yeah.
From a kid, my life was never easy. Like it was
Yeah.
always something.
Mhm.
So even starting from middle school, my mom first got diagnosed with diabetes. And then moving into high school, where she got diagnosed with heart failure, and going to doctor's appointments, translating, showing up for her, and serving her in ways that I knew how. And
Mhm.
then going off to college, and then getting sick myself, and having to sit out for an entire year.
Yeah.
And then going back and trying to get back into it, and then boom, she has a stroke, and we hear, oh, well, her heart is like done for. She needs a transplant.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm trying to juggle school, being at the hospital every day of the week, studying, attending virtually, and just trying to make it. And then now I'm in law school, and I'm to a point where I'm like, okay, I can breathe now. I feel like I'm above the water. I got it. And now I hear, oh, I'm sharing this for the first time as well. My niece has cancer. So now I'm sitting in a hospital again, a place where I thought I would never have to be after going through that grief. And I'm just like, okay, God, I know you're doing something for me. Like it's something that you're trying to do for me. It's something that you're trying to tell me, and I'm listening. Like I'm here. I'm ready to receive your word that you have for me. And however way you decide to use me, or whatever experiences you decide to take me through, I'm listening. I'm ready. Like I'm vulnerable. Use me in the way that you know how.
Yeah. To remain vulnerable. That is, it's a skill that a lot of people don't have, and I'm gonna be honest. I would say I just learned it or started learning it. So one of my good friends, Maya, is always telling me, like, be vulnerable. You gotta be vulnerable. You gotta be vulnerable. As a man, that's hard. Like, oh man, it's hard because I'm tough. I'm naturally just built to handle whatever. And I lost my mom, and that was the first time that I was forced to be vulnerable. I was kind of just forced to be adaptable. Everything else in my life, I've always had to adapt to something. I've always had to adjust, and I've never had a problem adapting. But being vulnerable while adapting was something that was a struggle for me up until this point. And now I'm at a place where I can be vulnerable and I can adapt. I know what it means to do all of that, and I think that it's dope that you remain vulnerable and adaptable. You remain mendable by God. You remain in a place that says, whatever you take me through, I know you're going to handle it because I know you're going to handle me in all of my ugly stages and crime. It's not all everywhere. Tears from here to here. You're gonna handle me, and that is. It's something that I pray that we all learn, and I think that the beautiful thing about all of those experiences that you share with us is that what you were able to do was have an experience with wisdom. You were able to have an experience with God's principle that says, this is how we're going to handle this.
Right.
This is how we're going to get through this. And she didn't run you through that process. She didn't fly you through that process. She walked as you walked. As she began to see where you were, you got to know her, you got to learn your experiences and how they were able to shape how you're going to handle this situation. You built a relationship with wisdom, and you were able to take step by step with her. And it wasn't forced. It was natural. And now you're at another place where wisdom is going to walk you through that. And I cannot wait for you all's testimony because I know it's going to be phenomenal. I already know it's going to be phenomenal. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I think we're down to question number 5. How has your journey, and this is what we just talked about goes into this question. How has your journey been guided by the principle of wisdom, specifically when you've been in the darkest parts of your life? So talk to us about your experiences with that principle at this point in your life.
So, like I initially stated when we first started the interview or the podcast episode, I told you, like, my mom, she instilled so much into me.
Yeah.
Besides being a woman, it would be just her strength. Watching her go through life and take on so much, being a mom, a sister, a provider, a nurturer, just watching her do all those things so effortlessly. Like I knew I had to have some of that within me.
Yeah.
Also just the experiences that we went through and hearing her, her daily teachings, her daily word, and encouraging us that we can get through anything. Those more so were like really be in this moment. Because right now, I tell people all the time, like, I'm still not healed. Like, there are days where I wake up and I'm like crying as if I just lost my mama yesterday. And just remembering, like, Christina, you made it through so much. Like, your story, you have such an impactful story. You have had many hardships and you're still going. You're still breathing. You're still working. Like, you're still alive. That lets you know that God is not done with you yet.
Absolutely.
So just going through those and then also remaining faithful to God, that also reminds me that I can get through anything, even in those darkest moments where I want to sit in the corner and just scream and cry and yell and scream, why me? I have to remember that I've made it through so much and that this is not the end of the story. This is only the beginning.
Absolutely. Oh, man. You have no idea how much you just blessed me with all of that, for real. That was dope. So one of the things that I've learned, I told people all the time, especially if those of you who watched episode 1, you heard me say that before I started walking, I was crawling. And a lot of times we have no idea what crawling looks like. And so you have to define it for yourself. And so I'm just going to say it again because I know a lot of people ain't go back and watch episode 1. So if you're watching episode 5, go back and watch episode 1. But there are 4 stages or pieces to life. You have crawling, walking, running, and flying. And everybody is caught up in one of those. You don't know how hard it is to crawl if all you've ever done was run. If you've been running for so long, And so to go to a crawl places you in a very, very humble state. And what you learn in that is healing is not linear. There is no linear route to healing. But you only learn that if you're crawling. If all you knew was life is great, life is good, bad things happen sometimes, but most of the time, I get what I want. And that's just it. Cool, that's cool for you. Shout out to you. You wrong. You know, you got it. You feel me? But those of us who know struggle, those of us who know heartache, those of us who know heartbreak, we understand that life ain't gonna be cookie cutter all the time. Ain't gonna be Gucci and gold all the time. It ain't gonna be, whatever other, little phrase you want to throw in there. It won't be that all the time, right? You have to learn how to be adaptable, and you have to learn that healing is not linear. It's a up, down, left, right. Let's go backwards a little bit. Let's make another detour. Let's go up some stairs. Let's go down. You don't know what it is that you're facing, and a lot of times we don't want to go on that journey because we know it's not linear. We know that because it's not, I do step A, step B, step C, step D, step E, and then I'm done, I'm healed. Don't work like that. For a long time, I used to ask myself, are you ever completely healed from something like grief? I've seen sports injuries. I know what it means to have, minor injuries. I've never broken a bone or anything like that, but I have sprung some things. And I do realize that after a while, you heal up, You get to a point where you heal up and you understand that, hey, I'm good. I can run again. I can move again. I can do whatever it is that I need to do, right? I'm straight. Heartbreak is different.
Very.
Heartbreak different. And it's because you use your heart more than you use an arm or a leg. It's not just a physical part of your body. It's also something that affects your mental. It's an emotional part of your body. It's all a part of this experience that we have of being human, right? And so because you use this thing so much in so many different capacities, there is a very, very small chance that you will be 100% healed. So what do? Do you stop living life or do you keep going? And the thing that I have to remind myself is no matter what heartbreak that I face, I still have to keep going. And I cannot wait for the moment where I'm 100% healed to live life. Cannot do that. The moment I wait for myself to be 100% healed, I'll miss what it is that God has for me. Because the Bible tells us that His strength is made perfect in our weakness, right? So if I refuse to be weak, then I'm not going to ever experience His strength. If I refuse to acknowledge the fact that I ain't got it all together today, I'm hurt, I miss my mama, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to talk to these people, God, I don't want to do this today, I don't want to keep going, I miss an opportunity to experience his strength. When I refuse to be weak, I miss an opportunity to experience his strength. And that is like the gold stamp on like this idea of me saying, all right, I'm no longer crawling. I got to get up and I got to walk again. That's the thing that replays in the back of my mind, that I was once weak enough to experience his strength. And because I now have experienced that, I now have it in me, and that power is allowing me to get up and walk again. Yeah. And that's like, man, I wish people understood it. And that's the reason why I have this podcast. That's the reason why I'm writing this book, is because I want people to experience that, that experience. You know, I want people to see that, hey, if I just be weak for a little bit, just a little bit, not saying crash. I'm not telling you to crash and burn, okay? But if I'm weak a little bit, I'll experience this principle of God called wisdom, and she will help me get up and I'll walk again. So that's where we at. So that was all 5 questions I have for you on the docket. But you know you're gonna get your author copy of the book. So before we get up out of here, tell me one thing you're looking forward to reading in this book.
So I really want to know, how was your journey with healing? Because like you said, you're very closed off, and I can attest to that as well. You don't say too much. So I'm interested to see what was your journey like, just in comparison to mine, and see how you were able to maneuver through that grieving stage, and what are some things that I can take with me as I continue to heal and move on through life, and also going through everything that I'm going through now, just some gems that I can take along. But I'm proud of you. I'm very proud of you. Keep going. We're rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Thank you. Oh, man, I can't wait to get this out to you. You're definitely going to get a lot. I don't do this. I need people to understand. I like to talk to my people. That's it. So if I'm talking in front of people, well, y'all is getting a lot out of me. I need y'all to understand that. Like, y'all are getting a lot. And in this book, you know, this is book number 3. And in the first 2, it was just me finding my voice as an author. But this right here, man, those people who have had the privilege of kind of like going on this journey with me in this writing process, they understand. Like, I'm so naked in this book. Like,
ooh, I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Oh, man, I put myself out there in a way that is unlike anything I've ever done. And I think as an author, like, you have to be a little vulnerable with certain projects. You have to put yourself in that, you know, space for a while for people to see you. But I think with this one, this is the most vulnerable and naked I've ever been in front of people. You know, I play the background. I'm a leader for sure, but I'm one of those lead by example kind of dudes. You know, I'm vocal when I need to be, and I'm great with my words, so I can speak. You know, very intelligent. I love conversation, but at the same time, I'm much rather an action kind of guy. In any capacity I've ever been in, I'm lead by example. And now I'm in a place where I have to shift and be more vocal. And in my vulnerability, I also have to be vocal too. And so that's what I did with this book. Probably one of the reasons why I put my face on it. And if those of you who know, I don't put my face out there. I don't, on my personal reasons, you know, I got to protect myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing, but for real, I think the reason why I was led to put my face on the cover of this book is because of how naked I am, and how vulnerable I am, and how exposed I made myself to the world. I have a great community of people, and they've seen me at some pretty low moments in my life. You know, they were able to handle me, so I felt like I got them. I'm straight. You know, but in conversations with God and really like thinking, okay, how do I get this project out to the world? He really made me like, if you're gonna be naked, you gotta be completely naked. You can't be, you know, Cloverleaf Adam naked. Nah, you gotta be naked. Like, you gotta, like what Job did. He stripped the robe. Naked I came to the world, naked I leave. You gotta, if you gonna tell the people what happened, you gotta tell the people what happened. And I do it in a way that's definitely not, you know, degrading to anybody that had to go on that grief journey with me. And I don't just talk about grief in this book. I talk about all kinds of heartbreak, relational heartbreak, opportunity heartbreak. um, all kinds of stuff. Because grief is, you don't just grieve loved ones, you grieve everything.
Exactly.
Grieve. One of my podcast guests, shout out to Jack, she said, man, you can grieve a debit card that you had to use in the 5th grade. So you can grieve a lot of things. And I tried to make that very, very plain to people in this book. But more than anything, I don't just leave it at, oh, this is what I experienced in my pain. Now, this is how I got up. And I'm still getting up and walking too. Like, it's a journey. And there are days where I feel like, okay, I'm real close to running. Let's start running, God. And then I have to remind myself, boy, slow down. Please slow down. Please slow down. Just slow down. You all right? Just walk a little bit more. Just walk a little bit more. But nah, I'm excited to get this out to the world. I'm excited for everybody to read it. Like I said, you're going to get that healing journey of mine and then some. Because I think a lot more people need to be just a little bit more honest. Transparency moment. One of the things that humbles me as an author is the fact that I don't have certain credentials that go behind my name that will, I guess, qualify me to write content like this. And I have to remind myself that, but God calls you to do this.
He'll qualify you.
You know what I'm saying?
He'll qualify you.
Yeah. You feel me? So the experiences that you've had, the fact that you have a voice and you have, a story to tell is your credentials. Right. And the fact that God already stamped you and you before the foundations of the world, I knew you. You know what I'm saying? So you've been stamped. You just gotta run the play. That's it. That's all the qualifications I need. I just gotta run the play at this point, But nah, I'm excited to get this out to everybody. I know that you're gonna enjoy it. And shout out to you for being one of the muses that helped me understand how to get through it, man. Because
thank you. Oh my gosh, it's honest to me. Thank you so much. But I also want to commend you because I know that you keep saying that you're like really strong and you're really standoffish, but you being vulnerable, this is showing us your strength. It's easy to hide everything. It's easy to walk in the world and be like, I'm okay, I'm all right, while you're dying inside. But being vulnerable, that is the true strength. And I'm learning that myself. So I commend you and I'm so excited. I'm so happy for you. I can't wait to see all that you achieve. I'm over here cheering for you and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Tina. I really appreciate that. Well, that concludes episode 5 of the Wisdom Walkers podcast. I have told y'all that last episode was the second to the last, and this is the last one that I have scheduled. So, the people say they want another podcast. Tina, would you like another podcast episode after this? Okay.
Yes, I want this to continue to go on even after the book release. Like, we need to get some people on here, review the book, tell us what you learned. We need to start a book club. I want to see this become something big. It's already there. It's already called. I see it within you. We got to keep this going. I'm tuning in every week. I need this.
Okay. All right. Well, if the people like it, I love it. Let's keep it going. So this is not the final episode of the Wisdom Walkers podcast. We will be on next week, maybe with the guests, maybe just me. I don't know. But guess what? Next Sunday, literally a week from now.
Okay.
My 3rd book is dropping on Mother's Day. So listen, I'm gonna give the people time to catch up because we got 5 episodes of this thing out already. How about this? We're gonna cap this at season 1. This is season 1, the finale of season 1 of the Wisdom Walkers podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're up to like over 200 views in all the videos. We have up to 17 or 18 subscribers at this point. I love y'all from the bottom of my heart. Y'all have no idea how much this means to me. But hey, man, we're gonna keep it going. Just give me some time. Give me some time. Give me some time. I have to celebrate this. Like, I dedicated this book to my mom. So the fact that I was able to write this and publish it and get it out to the world on Mother's Day is meaning a lot to me. And I got to celebrate that and also have to process that because it comes with a lot of emotions within itself. And I'm one of those dudes who I'm going to go cry in the corner and I'm going to bounce back like, yeah, let's get it. Yeah. But nah, I owe it to her to pause and celebrate this moment because without her, I wouldn't have picked up a pen to write in the first place. My first book wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for her. My second book would have happened if it wasn't for her. And this book just stamps so much between her and I. And I'm grateful for that. But yeah, so season 1 of the Wisdom Walker podcast is now come to an end. It's been a pleasure, y'all. Tina, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have no idea what this means to me. And until next time in season 2.